Welcome to the Nintendo Power Zone. We are a video cast / podcast dedicated to bringing you the best Nintendo related topics. I'm your host, Nice One, and we are back fully staffed. We got Blues, we got Jaden Winsong, and E3 happened earlier this week. And I'd like to say I'm excited, but I don't like to lie. So I want to say
Take-Two was pretty hype. I was very hyped.
Oh, dude, that was the best part of E3, man. Yeah. I love being talked down to. Absolutely love it. You know, it's my favorite thing in the world. I love when, giant corporations who make billions of dollars on an annual basis tell me that they're better than me. Anyhow.
Don't you?
E3 happened, and, Nintendo had a fairly good direct. There were some things I liked about it, some things I didn't like about it. I thought the pacing was a little bit weird this year. I can't be the only one who thinks that, but aside from that, we had some pretty cool reveals. And then we had not a whole lot of third-party support that I'm like super excited about, but there are two titles that I'm remotely interested in that we're gonna get to discuss today. Guys, welcome back. How have you been? Did you enjoy E3, or were you like me, where your expectations just tempered to the nth degree?
I'd say that a bit jaded, a bit skeptical. Honestly, I did not track E3 as closely as I had in the past, and part of that was because of all the disappointing things I was hearing. Friday, Thursday rolled around. They started everything, and then the general reaction was, "Is this it? Is this E3?" And so my motivation for finding time to actively move things around in my schedule and figure it out just plummeted.
Yeah, I want to say some of this for the actual discussion portion of the show, but I gotta say it didn't feel like it was E3 week, right?
No, not really.
Anyhow, Blues, thoughts on how were your expectations realized or dashed by this year's E3?
I wasn't able to hear any of that because it's lagging out on my end.
Okay. So, guys, we are gonna have some technical difficulties. Our provider is acting bonkers, but I'll repeat that. Anyway. Blues, were your expectations dashed or were they met by this year's E3? And yeah.
Oh,
and he's gone.
Yeah.
Oh, Lordy. Anyway.
Good time.
So,
yeah, the other thing that happened that was made it difficult to follow E3 is I had a baby. So that kind of throws things in a loop too. Super
yeah,
interesting.
Man, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, was it just walked in the room one day, checked my phone, there's pictures of a baby, and I'm like, whose baby is this?
Yeah, pretty crazy, pretty wild.
It's Jaden's baby. Well, yeah, man, congratulations.
Yeah,
fatherhood
thank you.
Oh man, how big was it?
What, fatherhood or the baby?
The baby. How big was it when it
7 pounds 14 ounces. So
pretty big baby, dude.
Yeah, it's not that bad. Although apparently, from what we've been reading and talking to people that we know that have also had babies in the past year or so, it seems like the average that we've found is 8.5 pounds and up. So relative to others, ours is small. And again,
so I was a little baby, but I had a giant ass head. So poor mom. Sorry, mother. Blue, as we were saying, I was asking, were your expectations met or dashed by this year's E3 in general?
In general, this should have been a very big year for Sony and Microsoft specifically. This is their first year where presumably more people are actually able to obtain their consoles. That might not even be the case looking at Sony, but no one was able to get an Xbox Series X or a PS5 last year. Just almost no one.
People wanted Xboxes?
I mean, Halo, right?
Supposedly.
Yeah, it's kind of just a Halo machine at this point. But even then, that's on PC. But that was their big killer app. That's what they needed to show, and they did. free multiplayer was really, really cool. I think that the year delay they gave it so far, they used that time really, really well. It looks great. So much better than it did previously. And, that's going to be their killer app going to the holiday. And Sony just released Ratchet and Clank, which looks great. But what are they doing for the holiday? I'm not entirely sure. And I kind of just expected a bit more of a lineup for holiday from both companies. And there's Halo, and I don't know.
So I know this is a
doesn't
bit of a hot
Horizon
take,
come
but
out
I was
next
actually going to
year?
go there. Like, what is, not just what is Sony doing for the holiday. My hot take is, what is Sony doing?
Yeah, I guess
Right?
that is a better
Like,
question.
sure, we
I
know
mean-
that people haven't been able to get PS5s, but from my hot take perspective, is there a reason to get a PS5?
My thing is that I would love to own a PS5 right now. Like in generally, I would just to have a PS5.
See, there we go. Exactly. I just want it, to have it.
But at the same time, like I think I'm not gonna buy one until they nix this stupid online only retail space that they're choosing to exist in right now. This, which is asinine. This is not only was the PS5 a poor console launch, but it was, as an Amiibo collector and as a fan of Nintendo products, I am used to the scalpers. I've literally become conditioned to deal with scalping.
You're right.
We are seeing some next level shit that Sony is not prepared to handle, or any other retailer. No, Walmart can't deal with it. Target can't deal with it. That's not what we're here to talk about. I want to get off that train. But we will definitely discuss this at a later date because I'm not done with you, Sony.
Mhm.
Right.
I made a big point because they just needed something to show for holiday. This is their second holiday and need games to show. And there still aren't a lot. There's still not a good reason to buy either console. There's a handful of cool things for Sony's doing, and there's a couple things down the pipeline like God of War and Horizon Zero Dawn. But holiday is going to be the big point where both companies are going to sell their new console. And the earlier you get that initial install base, the more games you'll probably get attracted to your system, and then more people will buy your system, and you'll create
Absolutely.
an ecosystem, right?
Absolutely.
And
But guys,
you're lagging.
what?
We're
Oh.
lag. Who loves the lag?
I don't know how. Any better on my end? Yes.
It's
no,
fine.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. The lag machine is done.
Anyway, yeah. So
It's really because Nice One sucks at first-person shooters, and he has a lag switch, and so he's hacked. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I've had one in the past. This is not something I will deny. I have had one in the past.
Little too close to home there.
Anyhow, oh yeah, man. Fuck you, Halo players. Yeah, you want to play games? Anyhow, we're talking 360 days, guys. Want to get into this show? There's more topics to discuss than I would expect, but I think we're gonna kind of fast pace a lot of these. Let's start where E3 really started, though. Started with a leak, because when is there never a Nintendo leak?
What
Right
is there not
before
an E3 without a leak?
I know, right? Well, it's just funny that the same game kind of leaked twice. Mario
yeah, you're
Rabbids,
right.
Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope, releasing in 2022. I am a huge fan of Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle. If you can see, I got the figures out. Love this game. One of the best launch titles on the Switch. One of the best titles in general on the Switch. It's just a really fun game. It shouldn't work in so many ways. Every reason for this game to fail should be there, but it didn't fail. It actually captured a lot of people's imagination. I think they're up to 7.5 million copies of the game sold. The DLC for the game was phenomenal. The game itself, tremendously fun. They made fart jokes funny again. Toilet humor is back in vogue.
They got
Loved-
Grant Kirkhope to do the music.
Yes, they did. Everything about that game was just, it was a love letter to both the Rabbids, who don't really need a love letter, right? I mean, because Rabbids, we've discussed them on the show before. They're just like, they're on the same like pillar as Minions, right? But the Nintendo characters were handled so well, and like their personalities were captured in a way that they never really felt like they weren't being handled by Nintendo directly. Like
Right.
the love and just attention to detail that Davide Soliani and his team put into that game made it just such a great game. It would have been my game of the year had 2017 been a different year, because in 2017 we had Breath of the Wild and we had Mario Super Mario Odyssey. Like any other year, Mario Rabbids would have stole my Nintendo game of the year. It just has some real stiff competition. But yeah, new trailer looked good. The new character models, while they're not so drastically different from what they did in the first game, I did notice some differences as I was, pulling screenshots so that we could discuss today's episode. I was just looking at things and I was like doing the side by sides and just seeing like what improvements, if any, had been made. And the character models are different. I like the new weaponry. I like the fact that you can now free roam on the map, which is going to be a huge. Yeah, it's like that's going to be a huge entry point for people. If you don't like the XCOM style gameplay of the first game, well, they basically said, fine, we'll simplify it for you. We'll let you go wherever the hell you want to go, and hopefully that it looks fun. Obviously, the Mario Galaxy references are right there from the start, like the Rosalina and the Rabid Lumas.
The Luma, that design is
cool.
hilarious.
Look, normal Lumas are really, really cute. They don't look good with rabbit faces, but I really appreciate that they did it still.
No,
they knew this is cursed, and we're gonna do it anyways.
No. See, I think it works the same way pugs work. They're ugly cute. They're not like.
I just think it's ugly.
Yeah.
I just want you to know that Mario After Party still watches this show, and he is the owner of a pug.
So he understands what I'm talking about. Again, this is just nothing but hot takes for me today. I'm fine.
Seriously, like Mario Galaxy is one of my favorite Mario games. There's no question that it is one of the best Mario games Nintendo's ever made. It, won Game of the Year the year that it was released. Somehow they made a standard definition game look like it was a high definition game. That game is just all around beautiful. To see them take inspiration from that game, to see Lumas come back in any capacity other than being attached to the hip of Rosalina and Smash makes me happy, even if they're rabid versions of those characters. I do like the new weaponry that we saw. I don't know who the edgy cloud rabbit is.
The new seems like to be the new villain. We're not sure, but
I'm so glad we're getting rabid OCs from Rabid.
Great.
Like they're inserting their edgy OCs into Mario.
Oh, that's great.
Dude,
I kind of hope that what happens is we see in 10 years a meme that's similar to Sonic the Hedgehog, the OC Sonic the Hedgehog meme, but OC Rabid meme. I would love to see that. So
you look up Nice One the Hedgehog, and there's a version.
Yeah. And this is some edgy one with super ridiculous hair and a bunch of.
Hey, I bet you it comes out better than the creative character of Sonic Forces.
Yeah. Any case, I would love to see that happen. I agree with you, Blues. I think that the OCs are. It's a good touch, and I think it adds to just the insanity that already is there in the big package.
I will say this, Ubisoft, if you're watching, I need more of these guys. You guys went all out creating promotional material for that first game. Don't stop that. Cause these are great. These are super high quality.
Necessarily great. They didn't need to be this high quality.
No, they didn't need to.
They're rabbits. So I actually have this Mario 3 times. I got 2 of them in the standard release boxes, but I also got 1 of them in the collector's edition with the soundtrack and everything. And
nice.
I love these things. Ubisoft, I need more of these.
They were affordable too.
Yeah, they were $30 a pop. Yeah,
super good pricing.
I ended up getting the 2 that weren't part of the collector's edition. I actually got got in bargain bins, so they ended up paying $10 for them. So yeah,
for shame.
Now, these three I got as they were, being released, but I bought 2 more of these just because they were bargain bin. I was like, fuck it, you know what? Things tend to break in this house. just randomly just break. I don't know, it's haunted or something. But yeah, make more of these and figure out a way to get Nintendo's permission to do the Mario characters too, so that I can, display these on my shelf. I'm so excited about this game. Y'all have no idea how excited I am. I didn't think that they would. First off, I didn't think this game would work in the slightest. Upon its initial leak, I was fairly shut up during that presentation when they announced it and had Miyamoto on stage and Soliani is like in the crowd bawling his eyes out. I was convinced by his passion. That's why I bought the game. I ended up loving the game, and I hope to love Sparks of Hope just as much. I'm just excited about the potential of this game, and yeah, we're finally seeing Nintendo let go of the reins more and more. Like, hey, yeah, do shit with our characters, like, because people forget that we got this, and then a couple years later, we got Cadence of Hyrule, also an amazing, Zelda title that was made by a not Nintendo, team. And Cadence of Hyrule, another one of my games that would have been Game of the Year for me had, it had Mario Maker 2 not been released that year. But yeah, I'm excited. I really can't think of anything else to say about the game other than just like 2022. That's the thing that got me. Like 2022, really? That is just too far.
That's
too far.
Yeah.
I was half expecting when the game leaked though. Wait, say that again?
You'll make it. You won't die before 2022.
Knock on wood.
I mean, I am fully vaccinated, but you know what? I live in Florida. Stupid shit happens here all the time.
If this were a like an anime or another such Japanese series,
flag.
Yeah, that would be a flag. I'm sorry, Nice One. Your days are numbered. Blues just screwed it for you.
I know, right?
The only thing that you could do to make it worse is if you said something like, "Oh no, I have to live because I have this tragic story with like my child's third birthday or something like that." That's the
it was just one day. I'm retiring in just 2 days.
There you go. That would be the only flag you could. That ain't care.
No, but seriously, I was half expecting that when this game leaked. That what had happened the first time was like, here's a game that's coming out. Oh yeah, it's coming out in like 2 months. I was half expecting one of those, and they're like 2022. I was like, why, you bastards? Why? But yeah, thoroughly excited. Cannot wait. But unless anybody else has anything to say on the topic, let's go ahead and move into the next pre Nintendo Direct review.
Yeah, I'm pretty good.
All right. So, Square's press conference took place on Saturday. Wow. Yeah. I thought there would be way more Final Fantasy-esque titles this year. None. But we did get a multi-platform announcement. Although they didn't really say it was coming to Switch during the initial reveal of the game. Guardians of the Galaxy. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, because they have to differentiate the movie franchise from TV or video games for some reason. I don't know why, but they do. It's probably some stupid legal loophole. Vaguely interested in this game, but it's also got like this like very it's like, let's turn Mass Effect into an action style game without the guns, without like the first person shooter elements.
Right.
That's what I saw. I think the character models are awful, especially for Star-Lord. I know Star-Lord is supposed to be a little douchey, but you didn't have to go full on dude bro for him. It doesn't even make sense for the character. The character was taken away like in the 80s, late 70s, early 80s. Doesn't make sense for him to be that much of a, millennium dude bro.
Right. Especially if we're talking about if we're sticking strictly to the cinematic universe, which I think of what they've been doing, definitely doesn't make any sense.
Well, I mean, if you consider the team that they're using for this game, it's identical to the team that we have in the movie franchise, which makes sense because that team has proven itself to be immensely popular with with the audience. But the fans of the comic book will know that that's a fairly recent like build up of the Guardians of the Galaxy. There are a plethora of other characters that are part of the Guardians, and completely characters like Yondu. They're not pirates or bad guys in the
Well,
original.
Star-Lord's
comic book.
completely different too. Just
Oh,
as
yeah,
a
yeah,
whole,
yeah.
like character,
Well,
personality.
Yeah,
just
because he's
completely
supposed
different.
to be like the son of a Kree, and in this one they're like, yeah, he's the son of a planet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
they've made creative changes to the character, but I don't think they do a disservice to the character overall. I mean,
I'll make the argument that they make it better. Personally,
yeah.
I'll make that
They
argument.
they turn him into Han Solo.
Which is better. Again, hot take. Come at me, Marvel Bros.
Well, you know what? I think that works better for the. I mean, even in the comic books now, the comic books are very reflective of the cinematic style of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Rocket and Groot play a tremendous influence on Marvel Comics now. Star-Lord is more in line with his character from the movies. Drax is the same in all forms of media because that's what the character is. It didn't behoove James Gunn to make significant changes to a character like Drax. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we're definitely going for a cinematic universe vibe with this game. Mm-hmm. Taking a lot of influence. I still don't think it makes a lot of sense for Star-Lord to be this much of a dude, bro. He should be an idiot. He should be he should be douchey.
Asshole, but not like shitty asshole.
Yes, exactly.
Or like the asshole that you just like hate. He should be like the lovable asshole. You know,
like Han Solo.
Yeah, like Han Solo.
There we go.
Yeah, the character models are bad though. Like Drax especially looks terrible. Like I was like, okay, they're not as bad as Marvel's Avengers character models.
Yeah, which was authored by Square Enix, which I think is a red flag. Is it the same team? I don't know.
No, because Eidos is working on this, and Crystal Dynamics did Avengers.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's a good point that we've moved to that I also mirror is that yes, I think that there are elements of this that actually look like they could be kind of fun. Mm-hmm. But because of how bad of a disaster Marvel's Avengers was, I am very reticent with this game.
But on the flip side, you look at games like Spider-Man on the PS4 and Miles Morales Spider-Man on the PS4, and they're fantastic.
Yeah, but was that Square Enix?
No, that's Insomniac because Sony Sony owns a large portion of the Spider-Man license. So it makes a significant difference as to which, obviously, it means Spider-Man can't be on any platform other than Sony's platform. So he's not showing up in any, Nintendo game or in any
Lego Spider-Man showed up on Switch.
Yeah, but that's different because I think Lego gets a very.
They may have a loophole.
Yeah, I think Lego gets everything.
Yeah.
For some reason, but these games can be done well.
I just don't have faith that Square Enix can do it. I don't. No. I'm sorry. I think Square Enix as a game developer has kind of a little bit washed up in many respects.
Well, here's the thing: is like these are, I know these aren't like first-party Square, developed games. They are being developed by companies that Square has ultimately absorbed through mergers and whatnot. But it ultimately means that you have access to some of Square's stuff,
budget and resources,
and maybe engines, specifically engines.
Here's where I sort of throw my counterpoint. Ball and Wonderworld. Ball and Wonderworld could have been great, but it came from a place of no one at Square Enix knew how to make anything in the genre. No one at Square Enix had made a 3D platform before. Yeah, and that's where a lot of the issues came from. The engine was
the other part of it. The other part of that problem is Yuji Naka.
Yuji Naka washed up. But
Yuji Naka was overrated in the 90s. I have a great deal of respect for Yuji Naka. Sonic franchise in the 90s revolutionized the 2D platformer, right? Made it better, shit all over Mario, gave Sega a fighting chance. The shit about the 90s that I love, like the console wars, love that shit. But Yuji Naka burnt out very quickly and easily on those 3 Sonic games that he worked on. He never really recovered from that. There was no Sonic game on the Saturn. The one 3D Sonic game that Yuji Naka had his hands in on the Dreamcast, nixed. Sonic Extreme. Sonic Adventure largely developed in a haphazard manner and has so many bugs that it's almost unplayable.
I like Billy
great
Hatcher.
Billy Hatcher's all right.
I mean, the Phantasy Star games that he's had a hand in were also pretty good. I think one of the things that we're seeing differently with Ball and Wonderland versus the others is that he's credited as being a producer in pretty much everything else. And Ball and Wonderland, he's credited as the director. And so I'd be curious to see how much directive control actually differed between all those titles, because even as a producer you do get a degree of control and shot calling ability. In any case though, that's I think we're derivating a little bit
Veered away from
okay,
right.
But you know what,
Guardians of the Galaxy.
the flip side is we see how much Balan's Wonderworld is supposed to be Nights into Dreams. It's
Right.
supposed to be this version. Nights into Dreams had its own problems, but somehow manages to be a fantastically it's a game that if you've played it, you've beaten it, you're gonna hold it. Yeah, you're gonna have some like sort of reverence for it. So I went into Balan's Wonderworld thinking, okay, this is I see what he's trying to do here, and it's not Knights. And I think that's what a lot of us expected. It looks like Knights to a degree. It feels like Knights, but it's not Nights into Dreams, and it can't be because of Naka working for Square. But ultimately, I don't know whose failing it is, but as Naka being like the big shit in charge of that one, I expected him to throw some of his creative oomph around it, and he might not have the creative oomph that Miyamoto does.
I mean, my whole big point with this was that even with the resources and budget that Square provided Ball and Wonderworld, it was something that Square just wasn't equipped to handle, especially as a newly formed studio within Square.
Right.
And I think that should be reason for red flags. I think that Guardians of the Galaxy fits better into Square's genres than a 3D platformer, but it still isn't something they have perfected.
Right.
I wouldn't say I have a lot of confidence for this title.
Right.
I might still get it.
To Blue's point, I would actually take that and expand that out to not just say their engine and new dev teams as a whole. I don't think Square Enix, personally, I don't think they can develop games anymore. They know how to make games look really pretty, which we see a lot with Final Fantasy, but in terms of engaging gameplay, I don't see it. They don't have that, except for like Final Fantasy 14 and the Dragon Quest series. I have not touched anything Square Enix has done that has made me walk away thinking, "Oh man, this is genius."
Octopath Traveler. I liked that a lot. I thought that was really engaging. The combat was great. A lot of the story campaigns were meh. There was like one good one, but I mean, the gameplay itself I thought was really solid. It looked gorgeous, and they're making Tripath Tactics, whatever it is, and then they're going to make Dragon Quest 3 remake, right?
Right.
Yes.
And so it's funny though, because all those, they're not trying to reinvent the wheel.
I mean, yeah.
And so when they're doing stuff like that's tried and true, it makes sense that they work.
Yeah, you're fair. That's fair. But new innovation.
Yeah, but they're just doing it in a visually more appealing way than they have ever in the past. But yeah, look, I can't say that I'm not at all interested in Guardians of the Galaxy. As a huge just comic book guy in general, like I gravitate to this sort of shit, and I always hope for the best. But more often than not, my expectations are dashed upon getting hands on this game. And considering that this is a multi-platform title, for now that we're firmly into the new console generation, regardless of whether or not we have these consoles or not, we are firmly in the new generation. The fact that this is running on the Switch should be something of a cause for concern, because it means that these games are not utilizing the new console hardware to the highest degree. This is going to be working on Switch, vanilla PS4, and Xbox One. So I think in that aspect we should have tempered expectations, and it may be part of the reason why the models look so shitty. Because we've conditioned ourselves to think about this current generation, and they're developing a game that's designed to run on, previous generation hardware. Look, I love my Switch. I think it is my favorite console, but it is a console that is still severely underpowered by what is considered the standard of the industry at this time.
So what you're saying is that we can blame the reason why Balan Wonderworld was bad is because it was also on Switch and it didn't take full advantage of the new generation of hardware.
No, I think Balan Wonderworld just had Yuji Naka to contend with, and yeah, it is what it is. Look, like Yuji Naka, he's a genius, but he's also
he's a savant.
He's in this weird, you know that line they say like there's a fine line between being a genius and crazy. I don't think he knows which side of the line he wants to be on, so he'll just go back and forth between.
Yeah, that's very savant stuff. Yeah, you just sort of stumble upon the genius idea every now and again. A lot of times it's just fucking crazy.
Yeah, but moving on, and I want to harp on this much more.
Sorry.
I want to rant. It's rant time for a few seconds.
Okay, yeah.
Dragon Ball Z Kakarot coming to the Nintendo Switch 2 fucking years later. 2 years ago, Bandai said this game can't run on the Switch, but they also said it's using Unreal 4. We already knew that Unreal 4 worked on the Switch fairly easily. Fucking cannot stand when Bandai does this. You know, I get the window with Fighters it sucked, but it was the same calendar year, right? To have this game come out 2 years later and to give us here's the title. We have to put out a Dragon Ball game on each console once a year. That's the rule for them to maintain the Dragon Ball video game license. I don't know why the rule exists. It's a fucking stupid rule, but they have to release a Dragon Ball game every year. So they do across multiple platforms. We got Super Dragon Ball Heroes, which I shit on that game in the past. I have spent way more time playing that game than I should have. I think it's got great mechanics, and even though I know that this is a dumbed down console version of a great arcade game, it's still a super fun game, and I implore you, if you're a fan of Dragon Ball and you like all the crazy shit that Dragon Ball can be, go out and get Super Dragon Ball Heroes, because it's way more fun than it has any right to be. But my initial reaction to us not getting Kakarot was, why are we getting this instead? Because you're giving us a gimme game, and I don't want a gimme game. I want the game. Now we're getting the game, and there's new DLC that just dropped last Friday for this game. Oh, but it's not going to be part of the Switch version. Pay us. And I'm like, are you fucking serious? Bandai, I don't know what the fuck you're doing, but fuck you. Because that's a more bullshit.
Dragon Ball fan.
And you know what? Kakarot is a fun game. Not a tremendously deep game or like a game that I recommend for anybody who isn't a fan of Dragon Ball to play. But if you enjoy Dragon Ball, it's actually a worthwhile play, because it's got all the stupid Dragon Ball shit that I love about Dragon Ball. It's all there. Little references, big references, crossovers from Dr. Slump. All that shit exists. Crossover, like all that shit exists in Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. And it's a great game. I love it. I don't love this. And I don't know what I do. Do I boycott games that I want to play by Bandai because they lie, and then we need to drop a game because our stupid contract, so here it is. I'm annoyed. Super annoyed. But it is what it is, I guess. Enough ranting. Unless anybody else has anything to say on the matter, I think it's time to get into something fun.
No. I'm kind of surprised that they decided to launch it. But beyond that,
they did the same thing with Jump Force, but we all know what Jump Force really is. It's trash. All right, so Tuesday, Nintendo Direct. I just want to I don't care what order we talk about these in, but I do want to start here. Metroid Prime 4, not announced. But that doesn't mean Metroid didn't get some love. They showed us Metroid Dread, which is Metroid 5, which means we are finally moving the storyline along 19 years after the release of Metroid Fusion.
Right.
Holy shit, does this game look fun, though?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. It's like, hey, let's take Metroid, lots of influence from the Alien franchise, but let's throw in the fucking Terminator at the same time and see what the fuck happens. Let's make a xenomorph looking Terminator thing and see what happens in the franchise. And holy shit, dude, my mind was blown because when they announced, he's like, we don't have anything to show about Metroid Prime 4, but we do have a Metroid announcement. It's like, you know what? The last time they announced a Metroid game that wasn't Metroid Prime 4, while we were waiting, yes, exactly, Star Force. I had like flashbacks of that moment. I was like, oh, people are not going to be happy. But then the trailer came on, and I was like, holy fucking shit. And dude, okay, so they basically took that like snapback function that exists in the Grezzo remake of Samus Returns. They added that to this game. Just the classic Metroid style gameplay is there. The Resident Evil style, like Mr. X chasing you down. The word is dread, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about this on the show before. Metroid is supposed to instill this sense of like isolation and dread. And we like, what I like so much about the Prime series is that it did that so well, and that the 2D side of the franchise had been losing a lot of that steam. This is the other way around. Now the 2D side has all that feeling of isolation, that dread that drew me to the Metroid franchise in the first place, and it looks like it's turned it up really high. Graphically, this game looks pretty damn good for a 2D side scroller. Fuck, I cannot wait to get my hands on this game. It just looks pretty. And the amiibo!
Yeah, the amiibos are really good.
Amiibo!
Can't get it, though.
You can't because the scalpers.
Right. Although to Nintendo's point, I think, we have seen issues across the board, just with being able to get things because of supply lines and chip shortages or whatever. But I think Nintendo's been pretty good about, over the past year or so, of having new stock trickle in. Like, yeah, the Game & Watch is a good example.
Got one of these. I thought this would be a hassle.
Yeah.
You can still find these at retail locations. They're not making them anymore, but they're still out and about. They're out in the wild. They exist.
So I'm hoping that we'll see the same sort of thing, not only with the amiibo, but also the Uber Edition bundle. So
never sell this as a single pack. Don't sell these as individual amiibo, Nintendo. Oh, 2-pack only. 2-pack only. Make it easy. Make it easy because I don't want to have to go from retail location to retail location.
In any case, anything else we want to say about Dread? I kind of want to leave all of Metroid to like its own episode because I think there's a lot there that we could talk about. I don't know what you guys feel, but
I know Blues has stuff to say though. Let's let him shoot his load before he walks out with Blues.
First and foremost, I called it. I said Mercury Steam was going to make a new Metroid.
He did call that.
I was right. 2, on the subject of the scalpers, I kind of like, as much as I hate it, I'm kind of like, I think this is a good sign because, you don't expect a Metroid game to be just unavailable, right? Metroid games traditionally just don't sell. And not only, you could argue this was the best game they showed at the Direct. So that's why it got popular. Besides maybe like Breath of the Wild 2, which isn't available for pre-order to my knowledge. But when you see this, like this is like the thing to pre-order. Metroid games selling out just with pre-orders, blasphemous. And I think this is the time for Metroid to actually start selling. People are exposed enough to the series, and if there's a couple good games down the pipeline with this, we just got Samus Returns and Prime 4 eventually, and they might re-release Prime Trilogy. Like, there's a good chance we see Metroid actually being a big hitter for Nintendo, like cracking that top 10 franchise.
I think if this game does well, it's a pretty big possibility that we get a port of Samus Returns for the Switch, which, as much as I love that game, it always should have been a Switch title. I like the fact that I got like one last breath out of my 3DS, but it was, I think it was a big enough. You put Zelda Link's Awakening on the Switch. Like, you could have done Samus Returns. But Mercury Steam has proven that they might be the right development team to be working on the core Metroid franchise.
I don't have a ton of faith actually that they can do a true Metroid. So for just based on what we saw from the E3 Treehouse, Nintendo Treehouse, this seems to be a lot more linear than I might have expected. The setup, so they talked about how you're actually starting from the bottom and working your way to the top. And so the way I'm sort of seeing is it's linear zones. You go through a zone. Each zone has a specific Emmy, which is the Terminator droid that hunts you down in the zone. And the Emmy only goes into certain areas of the zone. And you go in and you leave the zone and you just move on to the next zone, the next Emmy, and you work your way up. It seems much more linear. And in sort of a fusion between, I want to say, Cave Story, which was a very, very linear, but still has that focus on exploration, and a bit of Mercury Steam's other project that they did before this in a Metroidvania genre, Castlevania Lords of Shadow Mirror of Fate, which isn't even a Metroidvania game, which is sort of cause for concern there.
Right.
Looking at Samus Returns, that's a remake, and it's a lot harder to screw up a remake in that regard.
Right.
But they did make some creative changes to that game. They didn't alter the map per se, but they made enough changes in the core game itself.
And that was cool. It wasn't great fast travel, but like it's fine. And so I'm kind of like the big things I'm worried about are not worried per se, but the linearity of it. I think people might be expecting a much more vast game than what we're probably getting. And I think that what's the word I'm looking for? I think it might feel clunky and outdated in some aspects, that it might not be a fully modern game. Some design choices might be a little, might have worked in the GameCube era, but maybe not today.
Yeah. Well, that's
some of these, okay, so that specific complaint, I think, I don't necessarily want Metroid to evolve too far from a lot of its core. As far as linearity is concerned, some of the other Metroid games have a tendency to be linear, but there's so much backtracking. Because
it's linear in a spider web sort of sense,
right?
Yeah, but it's very rare that I've ever truly been lost in a Metroid game, and I know that there are multiple paths, snaking pathways, and different ways to get to different things to do whatever you need to unlock that next door. But
yeah.
I've never ever truly been lost in a Metroid game. So, and I think if we want the Metroid franchise to find an audience, especially nowadays, we might have to make a couple of sacrifices as far as how much, possibly some of its difficulty, but I rather them not sacrifice that, but I'd rather sacrifice more on how they handle things like the map in general, right? Because if it's too confusing, people are just going to check out, right? And I think that's always been the problem with the Metroid franchise. People get lost, they get confused, and they check out. And you really haven't gotten further than like 2 or 3 map screens before you're already out of the game. I think we could probably lose some of that overall general sense of confusion that some of these, that the older Metroid games have, and it might make it a little bit more appealing to a more general audience. And since the Switch is the general audience machine that Nintendo's kind of always been pursuing, I think the Metroid franchise could stand to take a couple of blows to its ego in order to find a wider audience.
I'd be down for that, yeah. And to a degree, I do hope that the Metroid series doesn't become too vast. Hollow Knight is, I think, the vastest Metroidvania I've played. It's fucking massive. It took me, it shouldn't, Metroid games take about 8 hours to play normally. Hollow Knight was 20 to 30. I didn't even do any of the DLC stuff. And I don't even think I've fully explored all of Hollow Nest. And I don't know. It's just it was good, I want to say. It was gorgeous and a great game, but I feel like they could have made a lot of areas smaller.
Hollow Knight is just, it's a game for masochists. Because
I like
if you can play that game for more than an hour, you get a medal. Because I was bad at it. I was like, I'm out.
I mean, and there's also a couple, I guess, design choices with Hollow Knight that. So I mean, this I might want to save for just a Metroid Dread discussion day. Actually, I might want to go that later.
Yeah.
I definitely want to talk about it right before the release of the game itself. So maybe we should temper some of our conversation
Yeah.
for Metroid because I think Metroid, I think it deserves like a full on discussion about the franchise in general.
Yeah.
The only
Overall-
thing I want to say, maybe I don't know if this feels like a closing point, but the only thing I'd have to say regarding Dread, that hasn't been said that I've heard, is that I think Dread as a classic Metroidvania style game is launching at a perfect window. I think we've seen a resurgence and arguably a renaissance of the Metroidvania genre. We had Bloodstained is
Yeah.
one of the ones that recently came out that I absolutely adored, and they're working on Bloodstained 2, if I remember correctly. And that's just one of many different
Mhm.
Metroidvanias. We already mentioned Hollow Knight as being one of the, but we're seeing a resurgence.
Ori
and
and Will o' the Wisps was my favorite game I've played, maybe ever, honestly. Like, I still
Right.
just think about that game. And that's one thing going into Metroid Dread. I don't know if any Metroidvania will ever top Ori and the Will o' the Wisps for me. I think every game will fail in comparison.
Probably, I don't
I
know.
don't know. Like, and that's something I want to talk about a bit more on Metroid Prime Dread discussion day, is
Right.
just how Metroidvanias as a genre are entirely an indie genre right now.
Right,
There are no big names other than Metroid, which hasn't seen a title in 19 years.
correct.
You're
Right.
You know,
Axiom Verge
innovating
did
in this
pretty
space.
well.
You know what?
Axiom Verge did all right.
That was
Yeah,
an
but that's
indie
the
title
lead
though.
game. Yeah,
Initially, it was indie, right?
I'm pretty positive. I think it's still indie, isn't it?
I don't know.
Yep.
I thought the second one got picked up by a big company. I don't know. In any
Maybe.
case, though, yeah,
Yeah,
Axiom Verge is fantastic. So my point is that this is I think it's just good timing
Mhm.
for Dread. I think
Yeah.
it's really good timing, and it may, regardless of how they decide to handle the difficulty, if they try and ramp it up, maybe to be more difficult, like, I don't know, Salt and Sanctuary, or maybe go a little bit easier for a more general audience. I think that because of the resurgence of the genre itself, it may just inherently pull new people to it. So that's
And-
pretty much all I had to say that hasn't been said yet. And
I guess my touch on difficulty is that I think they shouldn't put enemies in just stupid, dumb locations. Super Metroid and the original NES Metroid just had enemies in rough locations. That's a fault with just older games in general. They just put enemies in the biggest asshole spots they could think of. I think now they don't need to do that as much. And I think that's
Those
going
are
to immediately take a dip off of that difficulty, just putting enemies in better places. So.
Right.
All right. But with that, let's wrap it up because we will touch on Metroid on a very Metroid specific episode because it
It looks
deserves
great.
it.
I'm very excited.
super stoked.
All right. Another game that got me this one came out of left field for me. Mario Party Superstars.
I got super excited for this one.
As long as we don't have mini games that will destroy the palms of my hands and beyond.
No, screw you. I
I'm
want
okay.
that. So one of my, I'll admit, one of my wish list for this title is for Nintendo to do what they did with the GameCube controller add-on, but for this Nintendo 64. I want the Trident controller add-on so I can grab it and destroy my palm. I want
I'm
to
good.
relive 1998.
Nah, man, I type for a living, man. I need my hands. I need them
Okay.
to work.
So what you do, you just challenge your boss to Mario Party Superstars, and he'll understand.
I'm excited. Like they basically just said fuck it with the Mario Party franchise. They're like, nothing new we do works anymore with this franchise. So let's just take all the old shit that does work and throw it in a game. That's exactly what they 5 boards from the 64 era. And all the mini games that people enjoy. Like 150 different mini games to play. They're just like, yeah, fuck it. The new shit doesn't work. We've utterly ran this franchise into the ground, and we haven't been successful. So what has been successful in this franchise so that we can keep
Mario Party
making it-
Top 100, obviously. Let's just do that again.
And I don't even know if it's so far. I don't know if I would go so far as to say that the new ones don't work. I think nostalgia is just a bigger market. I think
I don't know about that, man, because like they did Mario Party for the Switch. Well, not launch year, but the second year of the Switch's lifespan. They tried all these new mechanics where they somehow were like, we figured out black magic and we can
Yes.
make your screens like connect with one another.
Yeah. Mhm.
And you'll move from one screen to the next screen using what can only be described as black magic. And this
Yeah, I
is your
don't know.
board. This is how you will play the game. And a feature as cool as that didn't capture anybody. The franchise just doesn't work.
You tried it once and with friends, it was like, oh, this is neat, and you never touched that mode again. Yeah.
No online
I think-
multiplayer either.
Mm-mm.
I think that's not necessarily because of the design in and of itself. I think that's just more how the market itself views mini games. I think that's one of the reasons why we haven't even seen a WarioWare before. Now,
Before the direct.
right.
Um,
and so when you're looking at the market and how they view just minigame compilation things, if you want to sell something, nostalgia, I think, is what's going to be the bigger sell. Because to be fair, I don't own the latest Mario Party. I've played it and I enjoyed what I played. I thought it was really interesting, and so I don't necessarily agree that it's a case of it's just not working. I just don't think the market's there anymore.
I think it's not working. I think Nice One is hitting the nail on the head with the fact that it's just not working. I think maybe not 1 through 7, but 2 through 7 are really, really good. 1 has a lot of flaws, but it's the first entry. But 2 through 7 were all like fundamentally great. I still go back and play 1 through 7 too, I guess. But it's like there's not the same magic in 8 through 10 plus Super. I mean, I play Super occasionally too, and it's a good return to form. But there is something sort of fundamentally wrong with like 8 through 10 plus Super that is just not the same thing. And I don't think it's nostalgia. I think it is just they're doing something amiss. Because I don't have a whole lot of nostalgia for the N64 titles as someone who didn't grow up with N64. But I still think they are fundamentally better. I don't know what to put I think it's more like just the Mario Party effect where you yell at your friends and bullshit ensues. I think maybe there's not enough of that. Is maybe like the friendship killing aspect is reduced. I don't know what it is, but there is something fundamentally different.
Well, because they took away the whatever competitive elements existed in the game to begin with. The good thing about the original few titles is that like those games get very cutthroat in ways that you don't expect them to. But as the franchise started to move along, they started making themselves concerned with pacing of the game, right? It's a board game. Fundamentally, board games are slower paced games than traditional style games. So they started trying to figure out ways to make the pacing more even with like let's make all the characters dice roll and move at the same time. Or let's stick all the characters in a giant freaking car and make them work cooperatively. They started nixing out any type of competitive elements to the game, which inherently, that's not what board games are about. Board games are about having a winner, having multiple losers. It's about the person who stands at the top. Like, I don't want to play a version of Monopoly where everybody has everything. That sucks. Everybody can't win. And that's the problem with the franchise. That's the problem with life in general. As we move forward, everybody is not born a winner. I'm sorry. I know a lot of you kids who are watching this show have been taught something different. Your parents are setting you up for failure. The only way you win is when you set yourself up to win. And fuck it. If you don't want to win, I don't give a fuck. But the Mario Party franchise has gotten to that place where they've like, nobody wins, you all win, you won because you played. That's not how it works. There's a winner and there's a loser, and the winner gets to destroy his friendships by rubbing in the victory. And that's what the franchise had that it doesn't have anymore. The fact that this game is reaching so deep into the pockets of the previous successful Mario Party games gives me hope that the franchise can be saved with like a newer entry, one that takes the elements and the lessons learned from this. This game's like a remake, right? Or greatest hits.
Yeah, closer to greatest hits.
Yeah, take what you've learned from this greatest hits compilation and apply it to future Mario Party games, because I think that will really make the franchise a standout again, right? Mario Kart has managed to get more and more successful with each release, and Mario Kart fundamentally has not changed the way that Mario Party has.
Right. And I think one of the things that Mario Party has also done is when they have changed things, they've done what Pokemon has done, where they've added new things but prevented access to the old things that you really like. And we've talked about this, I think, with the Underground, which I'm still bitter. Fuck you, Game Freak. Fuck you. In any case, yes, I think that's one of those things with Mario Party where I think that they could have added cooperative game modes, because I'm a big fan of cooperative board games that have like balls to the walls difficulty elements, right? But when it comes to the franchise as a whole, I think you also need to give the option to have your classic cutthroat style boards. And so I think this return to form, I'm hoping, will give us a future. I'm with you there. It gives us future hope for maybe everything that we want.
So my girl's never played a Mario Party game, just flat out. We watched the Treehouse Live. She didn't watch the direct with me. I was doing a live reaction to the direct, my first live reaction in like 3 years. I was doing a live reaction, so we didn't watch the direct. I didn't watch the direct a second time until later in the evening, but we did watch Treehouse Live together. And when she saw the Mario Party games and she saw all the chaos that was ensuing during the Treehouse, her eyes lit up. She's like, "Oh, I want to play this game." And I was like, "It's been a little while since we've actually had the opportunity to sit down and play a game together." A lot of the games that have been coming out have been a very single player focused thing. Pretty much since The Last of Us, I've been focusing pretty heavily on single player campaign games. The most interaction we've got was that we rebought Captain Toad and have been playing the co-op mode that was added, and she enjoyed Pokemon Snap to a degree, but it's not really her cup of tea. But she did assist me in finding out some of the hidden secrets in Pokemon Snap. Still playing that game, still love that game. But yeah, she saw this game. I don't think she's ready for the chaos that will ensue and how much this might damage our relationship in the long run.
Right.
When we do get it. But I think she'll have fun playing it. And yeah, I'm all in on this game. Like I want to play a Mario Party game and kind of just recapture some of my early teen years that I had with these games back in the day. I want to have those moments again, and let me relive those in my 30s. I'm about that.
I'm excited for it. I think it looks great. There's online multiplayer, which was severely lacking in Super Mario Party until recently. They added it, 3 years later. So,
a little late there.
Never. But there's still no board variety in Super. There's still lacking mini games, and I think this as DLC would have completed that very, very nicely. Mm-hmm. And I think it would have been a bit more convenient. There's nothing worse than you have your friends together and you're swishing your Mario Party discs on the GameCube and you got like 4 different Mario Parties. I always hated that. I don't know. That's just me. But
I wouldn't be surprised. You just touched on something. I wouldn't be surprised if this originally began development as DLC for Super Mario Party.
That would not surprise me either.
So. But I do like the direction they're going with it. It seems that it is much more true to form, and I feel like if it was the DLC, it might not have had that return. I do think, for me personally, I would have preferred the GameCube era, but classics are classics, right?
I hope that this is a game that they're willing to expand upon. 5 boards does seem fairly limited. Now, these are some of the better boards, but I hope that they take some boards from other games in their fights. Yes, bring back some of the DS boards. Like some of those are really good.
I love the
Um,
DS boards. I love
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
those
yeah.
for party parties. That and the
yeah,
school bus was fucking great. Awful,
I
but great.
I hope that they're willing to like give this game some attention because um, I do think 5 boards probably gets you through maybe a couple weekends before
Yeah.
you felt like you've run the course.
But
Well,
then
before you've
add
destroyed all your
4 from
friendships.
Super, and 9's like a decent number.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say 9's a good number.
Yeah, but aside from that, let's keep the train rolling, man.
So I'm gonna have to dip out here
No, it's all good, man.
after
We
the
understand.
next one, but I do want to go and at least, if you don't mind me, skipping over to, I don't know, SMT5 because that's.
Sure.
Yeah.
But-
No, there was no specific order that we need to
Yeah.
discuss these.
I just want
So-
to say, like, this looks super sick. I've been really like, it's been really weird because it was announced at launch.
Yeah, it was announced when they
And
announced the Switch.
nothing for years, and so the fact that they gave us anything was a little bit, that's surprising. I'm disappointed that they didn't give us more, but
They
I
gave
think
us a fucking release date, and that's fucking awesome. I think.
yeah, and that's where I was gonna go. I'm glad they gave us what they gave us because what we saw, especially in a release date, but from what we saw, looking pretty cool. One of the things I'm pretty salty about so far is that as far as we know, we're not getting the kick-ass special edition that Japan is getting, which
Mm.
salty about. But
Yeah,
sometimes, but
true.
lately, no, we haven't. In the past, we have. I don't know if you guys knew or remembered this or looking, but back in the day, they actually, for the 3DS, they had a special Persona Q edition console, which is pretty sexy. It actually looked like the book. In any case, I don't know. I think the character designs are looking pretty good. I'm curious to see which direction in gameplay they're going. Are they going to give us more of the easier Persona style gameplay, or are they going to give us the traditional difficulty like we saw in SMT4? So that'll be interesting, at least.
I'm gonna lie, I sit on the complete opposite side of the Jaden spectrum. I walked into Shin Megami Tensei 5 thinking I would be hella hyped for it, and watching the trailer, watching the gameplay, I checked out hard. I was like,
Same.
I was like, I don't know what's wrong with me, but yeah, this one is not resonating with me the way that I thought it would.
Right.
And I can't
think they
tell if
just
the
showed
character
that
was
stuff.
male and turns into female, or if they're just going for like the most androgynous character that has ever existed, even among Japanese games. Because to me, it looked like the character grew breasts.
I think it's a case of you can choose.
Then why did they start with the male character? I don't know.
Probably to show that you could choose between the two. And that's my assumption, at least. Could completely be wrong, but that was my assumption.
Like,
I think
go ahead.
Yeah, I think they just showed bad stuff when they were showcasing it. I think if they showed a bit more of like actual story, because they showed like, oh, well, this is how the game starts. You find yourself in, post-apocalyptic world. And it's like the bare minimum introduction to what you need to teach people about Shin Megami Tensei. I
Well,
think
it's
like
super
a
barren
storyteller
too.
could have been way more hype with like alluding to big plot twists. Or 'cause I have no clue where the fucking plot for this game is, other than the fact that normal person gets transported into post-apocalyptic demon world. That's all I fucking know.
Yeah.
My girl said
visually,
it
I think
like
looks
Death
cool.
Note.
Yeah, it's a part of that is
But they didn't show anything that grabbed my attention.
right, and so that's one of the things that, to me, I like. Well, I don't know if I'd say the word like. It makes
You
sense
appreciate-
to me. I think
Mhm.
it makes sense to me because the SMT title, the SMT IP line, title line. Okay, so because I guess to contextualize, in SMT they have SMT proper, then they have Persona spin-offs, then they have the Devil Survivor spin-offs. They have all these different branches off of the main SMT, but the mainline SMTs have always been niche. They've always been really difficult. They've always been a little bit obtuse. Always been maybe not as like relationship focused as maybe the Persona offshoot has been. But from that perspective, I kind of liked seeing that because at least from what I got of the trailer, I got a sense of we are not compromising what the mainline SMT thing is. And yeah, I totally understand the point of like they didn't show a whole lot in terms of like plot and setting, but to me it made sense because that's pretty much what a lot of the SMTs are. Oh, post-apocalyptic Japan. Something happened. SMT, yeah, I mean that's kind of basically what SMT4 was, from what I remember of SMT3 and SMT2. That's also what's there, and even Devil Survivor, which is like offshoots of those similar concepts. And so
yeah,
I think the game just lacked freneticism, right? Like I always associate Shin Megami Tensei with like being more of a frenetic franchise where it's like it's a little bit of chaos happening, and I just didn't feel like it was there, and I was like it. And maybe that's right. Maybe that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to leave people intrigued. But the vertical slice that they showed us just didn't really strike a chord this time with me. And I was like, you know what? I don't know. I'm not sure if I want to pick this one up just yet. This is one of those games that I feel that they'll drop like a direct for just like right before to hype us up for it. And if they don't, that would probably be a tragedy because I do feel like people could like take a look at this and pass it up, and just based off of what we saw, I would see more people checking out the way that I did, than people going balls to the wall for it.
Right. I do have a response to that, but I know Blues wanted to say something, so I'll let you go.
I mean, so just within seeing Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse, the trailer they did for that, as well as the Devil Survivor games, and one more thing I just thought of and I forgot now. Oh, Nocturne. Shin Megami 3 Nocturne. I think they did a lot better job selling me on those games. And I don't know exactly what it was, but I think it was just like they had a better vertical slice that they showed me.
Possibly. So yeah.
I would want to say. So you're right, with the vertical slice they showed didn't sell me.
Right. And so I do, my response to the nice one does, I think, incorporate some of that. But I think what SMT kind of struggles with, and this is also something that they encountered with the release of SMT4, I feel, is the identity, right? I think that SMT as a brand has become more recognizable for the Persona offshoot than the mainline SMT, which I think, or my perspective of it is that is what makes it what's the word I'm looking for? Convolutes. It convolutes the impression that people have of it, because Persona, I think the Persona
expecting Persona, but they get Shin Megami Tensei at its core.
Right, and I think the Persona series, the Persona brand speaks more towards the franticness, towards the chaos, towards all that kind of like weirdness, where in my experience of the original like mainline SMT, there's always been a bit of that intrigue. Like SMT4, you're going in and a lot of it is, this is the surface of what you're seeing, and as you go through, you slowly delve down into this mystery and this intrigue, and you get the bigger picture of, oh shit,
So I think what you're talking about a little bit is something I've been working on the side. I've been scripting for a different type of content lately. That will be outside of the scope of this channel, but I think the word is transcendence. That is what you're saying. There are portions of franchises that have the ability to transcend what the core is, right? When you talk about Persona and what Persona has become, it has transcended the SMT franchise, right, in the sense that it now speaks more volumes than the core franchise. So it's become transcended, that it stands on its own and it no longer really needs the baseline that SMT provided it in the beginning. So we've literally watched as that has transcended that, but now people like me who have gotten accustomed to those transcendent elements of Persona, we want those elements to make their way to the core franchise, and that's not what the core franchise really has ever been not to the degree that the Persona franchise is.
Right. And I was working at GameStop at the time of SMT4's release, and I saw a lot of that there too. We had a bunch of people who picked up SMT4, and I had a whole bunch of people that maybe the day after or so came back and sold it back to us because they were expecting the Persona experience, and it's like, oh no, sorry. Someone should have told you that SMT mainline is very different from Persona. So, yeah, I'm stoked because I know what I'm getting into. But if you don't know what you're getting into, I can definitely see both of y'all's points in terms of the trailer and just the overall feel of what's there.
Right now, I'm fence sitting on this one. If nothing comes out that month, besides this, and I feel like, and they don't have anything that really hypes up the game to beforehand, that might be the only way I pick this up like day one. Is if like I feel like I need a game to play, but yeah, if they do something between now and the game's release, they gave us a release date. When did they tell us this was dropping?
Oh shoot, I don't remember.
November, right?
I think so. I want to say end of the year.
November 11th. Okay, yeah. Oh, but this is their big November game. This is that pre-Black Friday game that they want to drop because Nintendo on November 11th. They stay on that. November 11th and the 25th for some reason. Yeah. In the event that I feel like, okay, there's nothing in November. Well, at least from right now, we know that Nintendo's got a lot of releases in October, but nothing really besides this coming in November. If there's not a big
Diamond Brilliant Pearl.
I thought that was
October, isn't it?
Like, I'm fairly certain they picked like the October 22nd week for that.
I could be wrong, but
maybe. Why am I thinking this then?
I'm pulling it up right now. I don't like to. November 19th. So it's a week after. So yeah, Blues was right on that.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, that makes it a little bit more sketch as to like. It's definitely not beating Pokemon. Far.
Yeah, no, Pokemon's probably getting my money. I honestly don't know if I'll buy it day one this year. This might be the first game I don't buy day one, but it's getting my money eventually for sure.
Yeah. No, I get that. So, anything else to add on this? We have time to go.
Yeah, man, because I am glad that somebody had a positive spin on this because like I was gonna talk about it out of obligation.
Yeah.
Out of pure obligation, because it is a pretty key franchise for the Switch, and especially this year. I just didn't feel like the game I gravitated towards the game the way I half expected to, especially when they revealed it, during that Nintendo Switch presentation. Like when they showed that trailer, then I was,
it grabbed your attention with the whole bloody
exactly. Yeah, I was way more intrigued 4 years ago than I was at actually seeing gameplay.
Right.
But yeah, I'm glad you had a spin. I'm glad somebody had a spin on it that was much more positive than the direction I would have gone because we would have wrapped this up. It would have been an obligation. Kind of like sitting through Take-Two's presentation.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
I mean, so one of the other ones I think that I'd be very curious to be involved in is Advance Wars 1 and 2. I've seen so many mixed hot takes on that. So I don't know what your guys' perspective is. I could say before I bounce really quickly, I like it.
I'm hella excited. I'm not sure if I like the new art direction for the game, but I get what they're going for. They're like trying to do that thing that Link's Awakening did. How do we turn like these very flat character models and this flat experience and make it look new and shiny? But it does have like this toy-esque quality to it that I don't think the original game. I never felt playing the original 2 games. I didn't feel like I was playing with toys. And this one, I do feel like I'm playing with little toy tanks and whatnot,
Yeah, which
which
I don't
may
know.
work in the game's benefit.
I think from a studio, WayForward's doing it, and WayForward has done good work with the Shantae series. So
They
I
didn't
have
do
some
the
faith
best
there.
job with the Bakugan series, though. Gotta say.
I think that's an issue with Bakugan and less about.
But
They killed it with DuckTales. DuckTales Remastered, they absolutely blew that out of the water.
Don't get me wrong. I like Bakugan as a concept. I do think it has struggled to find its place in the video game medium. I don't know why.
The first Bakugan game was really, really good, and every game was just gotten progressively worse, even after
Yeah.
the reboot.
That's a damn shame. But then
I think if
again,
you're a Bakugan fan, the best thing that's happening to you is a set of Funko Pops right now.
yeah.
No, I love the Bakugan Funko Pops. They made really cute. There's a Bakugan called Cubbo, and they have like cosplay Cubbos now, and they're really cute. I'm collecting those. It's like cosplay Pikachu, but like I gotta put a picture of like cosplay Dragonoid Cubbo.
Dude.
But I am excited about these games. Infinity, not why, Dennis, why?
WayForward.
No, not WayForward. The original Intelligent Systems, who designed these games initially. Yeah, they understand tactics gameplay like almost
They
no
really
other
do.
studio.
Yeah.
Like so as long as WayForward is fairly faithful to the overall actual core gameplay of the original games, I think we'll be all right with these.
Right.
I'm glad that it's a 2-pack. Right now, I think the only thing that may be holding me back from rebuying these is a price point. These cannot launch at $60.
Yeah, I hope not at that price. I would be okay with maybe more than that, or maybe not more than 30. I don't think I could do maybe 40.
I think the sweet spot is between $35 and $40.
Yeah, that's probably where I would get it at. I have to say I'm a little bit disappointed that this isn't a new Advance Wars. That's where I'm kind of bummed out with. But I hope that it does well enough that we might see a re-release of the Wii version, because that game, it's impossible to find. I've never actually played it because by the time I found out about it, it was already triple digits, and this was in like 2009. So that game is impossible to find. I would love to see that game to be re-released, and hopefully a new Advance Wars title. I think that'd be great. So
I think the franchise has legs, and one thing that we constantly hear about is people do actually want this franchise to make a return. Like I've heard it for years. I've heard it for years from many different,
right,
media outlets. I've heard it from individual players of the franchise.
Yeah,
there is a baseline of people who want this game, and I do think that they will come out for this. I mean, they may not be necessarily happy that they're remakes and we're not getting something new from Intelligent Systems outright, but I do think that people will still come to this because it sends. We speak with our wallets, right? We always have.
Mm-hmm.
If as consumers, if enough of us buy this, it will tell Intelligent Systems that, hey, stop making Fire Emblem games.
Yeah, I'd say I'm glad you went there, because I'm one of those people who has been saying for years that, again, dude, so many hot takes today. Fire Emblem is a bad tactics game. It's not a good tactics game. It has some good, like, character weeb shit, which I eat up like nobody's business. I love that weeb shit, that insert character thing and all the romance. I love that shit. But it's not a good strategy game. Advance Wars is a good strategy game, and I've been wanting either a new Advance Wars style game or Fire Emblem to move in the direction of Advance Wars for years. And so,
I mean, I almost feel like if they did take Intelligent Systems specifically took another crack at Advance Wars, they would just make War Fire Emblem. They make it much more story-driven, like what they've done with Fire Emblem, and they might have dumbed down the tactics. And that's kind of my fear if they did do that.
That is certainly true. And so I'm hoping that the success of Advance Wars might actually just twist that. It's one of the few reasons that even if this thing does come out at a $60 price point, I will buy it day one just because gotta do the voting with the wallet thing.
Yeah. And it's worth mentioning that I think the last time we got a remake of an old game from an underrepresented series with a loud fan base from Nintendo, it's worked. We got Samus Returns. People liked Samus Returns. The Metroid fan base liked that a lot. And now we have Metroid Dread. So results are there,
Except for some reason, they still won't give us Mother 3.
They haven't given us Mother or Earthbound, I guess, here. They haven't given us Earthbound with a little toy art style yet. Once we get Earthbound with the claymation toy.
Oh my god, that is one of the biggest. That should have been a thing. I am so very angry.
It's so perfect.
You know that old meme where it's like if men had a time machine versus if women had a time. Yeah. If men had a time machine, they'd go back in time and give us that Earthbound play style.
So the Link's Awakening remake we're doing, Mother. Make it Mother.
Yeah, just I don't know. Like all the money, you could have it. You could have it if you just did the thing.
But I mean, we're seeing kind of a trend, and I think it's a good direction. Specifically with Metroid, I think that's going to put Metroid back on the map. We might get Metroid games much more specifically if Dread and Prime 4 do well. And I think they're probably going to do better than any other Metroid game previously has. And I think, just from someone who has, I'm not too keen on Advance Wars, but I know how much Advance Wars fans fucking love it. They want it so bad. They're so desperate, right? And when I saw the trailer for this was the most hype trailer for me that was shown. As someone who doesn't really care about the series, just because I felt the collective relief and excitement from all the people who wanted it, even if it was just a remake. It's something. They're touching the franchise.
Go back and look at my live reaction. Like I do see like when that game, the moment that game touches the screen, I know exactly what it is. Mm-hmm. Just from a very key, not even like significant visuals. I was like, it's advanced.
It has the art style. WayForward nailed that art style.
Oh yeah.
I was like, I knew what it was, and yeah, my reaction to it may not have been like hella excited, but just I think with a lot of the reveals in the direct itself, my expectations were pretty tempered just by E3 as a whole. So by the time we get to the stuff that I actually do care about, I feel so jaded about the situation that I'm not even like willing to fully embrace what I'm seeing. I'm like, oh shit, it's Advance Wars. Like, yeah, that's awesome. But at the same time, it's like, I probably didn't give it the reaction that I feel towards the game itself. Like, yes, the only thing that's really, a factor here is price point at this point for me. If this game is a full $60 release, I may stay away from it because at its core, they are games that I have played before and did thoroughly enjoy, but I don't necessarily feel the urge to revisit them because they're not new, right? And that's a barrier for me at this point in my life. I don't necessarily know if I want to go back and play experiences that I've already been through before, unless I desperately feel the urge to play them, like a Grand Theft Auto game. Every now and then, I have to go back and play San Andreas, or with Donkey Kong Country. Every so often in my life, I feel the need to go back and play these games. But I don't have a burning desire to necessarily go back and re-experience Advance Wars because those games they're fun, but they can be tedious, right? And they do require a lot of your your brain power, especially as the game progresses and it gets much harder. You're spending a lot of time focusing. Where do I move this tank? What should my plane formation be? Who should be attacking at what time? Those games really do test the limits of what your brain can do, especially if you're, as an adult, I'm tired all the time. It's just what happens when you get older. Life bears down on you and you get tired. And I don't know if I'm going to have the energy for a game like this. And I would love to, but I'm not going to make any promises to WayForward that I will be sitting here, amped up for the experience.
Nintendo, localize Dr. Kawashima's Brain Age training just for nice ones. We can play Advance Wars.
There we go. Yeah, exactly. The nice one edition. That's what it'll be. So
As
They
long
didn't
as you
know
know,
that.
bring a Brain Age game back to the States, that might actually be fun.
Yeah, I've got a UK account just to play Brain Age over the summer, and I've gone from a Brain Age of like 50 down to 28 so far.
nice. I should do that.
Yeah,
So I've
he's
been
only
running my brain all
22
summer.
years old.
In any case, speaking of adulthood, my wife and baby she's mad. I have to do that. So she's like,
No,
why?
it's
Where have you
okay,
been
go
the
be a
past
good dad.
90 minutes, you asshole? Come here and take care of your son. So I bet I'm gonna go before I get more wife aggro. All
We got
right.
a name drop the baby today?
Oh, he's junior, dude. He is Jaden Winsong II, except obviously not my handle of my actual
Yes.
real name. So,
It's okay.
but yes,
We know his real name, and that's all that matters. Congratulations on the baby. Go make your wife a happy wife, because if you don't, no happy life.
oh yeah, and then I won't be able to play Metroid. So in any case, peace out, guys.
Take it easy, brother. All right. Yeah, that is awesome news, by the way, that, Jaden the dad.
Incredible.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we knew that his wife was pregnant. But even that, he didn't even reveal that to us like immediately. So we got that news a little bit later. So I was mind boggled when he showed us
sent pictures of the baby.
pictures. Yeah, I was
I'm like, wait, that's a little early, isn't it?
I was like, yo, dude, you only told us she was pregnant like 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, congratulations to Jaden. Congratulations on baby Jaden and Mrs. Jaden, yeah, because that's fucking awesome news, for real. Very happy for them. And I hope he enjoys being a dad, because, yeah, shit, we didn't say Happy Father's Day. It's his first Father's Day. I will text him after the show.
Yeah.
I will text him after the show. I feel like an asshole. Anyway,
Damn.
we do have to move on. I want to kind of just blast through the rest of the titles that were unveiled. Cruise and Blast, arcade title, getting a physical release on the Nintendo Switch. If you've played any of the Cruising games, they're hella fun. I've played this new one. It's not made by Rare, unfortunately, because Rare can't make anything for a Nintendo console anymore. But the development studio that did work on this, they have a very big history in making in recapturing the essence of older arcade games. They've even made a Ninja Turtle game that's stylized after the original ones. They did a phenomenal job on that. I've played Cruise and Blast at Dave & Buster's. I loved it, and I actually might pick this title up because if they are able to capture some of that magic on the console version, I'm all in. WarioWare, get it together. Hella excited to see a WarioWare game. Now, 2 players, multiplayer WarioWare.
So, I mean, first of all, this seems like the first more traditional, I guess, WarioWare we've had in a while. As much as I loved DIY and Game & Wario, they weren't quite, a traditional WarioWare game, right? This seems more traditional, and you can just bring a friend. So that's awesome.
Some of the minigames looked hilarious. And I love the fact that the Wario characters themselves have this 2.5D element to them that make them stand out really, really significantly in some of the more flat 2D minigame space. I love the cast of characters that will be coming as playable characters. Looks absolutely brilliant. I'm ready for pit jokes and fart jokes galore in this game. I really hope that they stay away from bringing back some of the older style games. I really hope they focus very much on the core minigame, core new minigames. But I wouldn't be too disappointed to see some returning minigames.
I mean,
especially like the mother with the Game Boy. I always did where the kid's trying to play his game. I'd love to see an updated version with the kid and the Switch. Because that was always a fun minigame, especially in 2-player mode. That could be so chaotic.
I mean, so one thing I might my wish list with this game that hasn't been unveiled, and I know I probably won't do it because they don't really revisit a whole lot of old ideas in the WarioWare games, but WarioWare Inc. Mega Party games on GameCube had, I think, my favorite multiplayer of any WarioWare game. Game & Wario's was unique, but this is 9 volts Cardi cards, Dribble and Spits, Milky Way, Delirium, Orbalons All for One. Those are my shit. I want those, because this is a multiplayer focused WarioWare. They gotta bring those modes back. And I know Card Reader, E-Card might be a little dated,
but like the gameplay mechanics of it were so fucking awesome.
It's funny that we were just talking about intelligent systems, and to see, and I always forget that this is an intelligent systems developed franchise. Because it's so much, it feels like it's so much outside of their wheelhouse to make this style of game. But they always they've
always been a pretty experimental studio until recently.
Yeah, especially now. Yeah, so it is, especially now, more like unexpected for them to even be working on this style of game, and I feel like the timing's right because the Switch has such a broad audience, right? It feels a lot like the DS audience, more so than I know a lot of people compare the Switch to like the Wii's audience, but I think the the DS, the original DS, had such a expansive audience. And I like the fact that that more DS titles are making their way to the Switch, and I think this is just it's a good idea, and it's probably the right time to have another like mini game party style game thrown into the mix, right? We just got done talking about Mario Party, and now to see another like party style game, especially with the multiplayer elements, the cooperative multiplayer elements, or the obviously the game breaking ones where like there were some competitive mini games that they showed here, like the string one. Some of those look like they're a lot of fun. I don't know if my girl's gonna get down on this game, but I really want to introduce her to the franchise and just show her that like, yo, Nintendo has some crazy like weird shit, and it's been a while since we've got a weird game, man. Like I'm happy to see a more weird game get thrown at us in any kind of direct. So I'm all about it. Let's get it.
And I feel like WarioWare is the only game that can get away with some of the art style choices you see in the micro games. Like, it's always so fun to see just like a 2-year-old's drawing in a setting for a game. You just like, whose child drew this at Nintendo?
Exactly. Like just like yeah, you're gonna play
staying off the fridge.
You're gonna play on the kindergarten piece of paper.
Like
it's
just like fun to look at that. You wouldn't see it in any other game.
All right, but aside from that, we gotta talk some Zelda, right? They had 2 Zelda reveals. We knew about one of them, and the other one not so much. But I'm excited.
Now, is this where we're ending most of our discussion?
Yeah, I think we should probably cut it here.
I want to touch a bit on Mario Golf. I know it's coming out like in a month, maybe less than. Is it this month? I don't know. But Mario Golf
comes out like next week.
Yeah, next week. But I was sort of skeptical when they first revealed it. But I am all on board now. What they showed sold me for sure. They didn't show too much more besides speed golf. But they did show like a battle mode, and that was cool.
It reminded me of Mario Kart, dude.
What?
The battle mode had so many Mario Kart vibes to it. I was sold on that. I was like, okay, that looks fun. And even the traditional golf mode just looks so polished this time around.
And the stages look great. The story mode looks a lot more adventurous and fun and unique, especially in comparison to the Mario Tennis Aces story mode, it was cool. It was there, but it was very disappointing. It definitely shouldn't have been like a key feature. Like, I don't know. But this looks really good. And so I'm much more happy and satisfied with what I saw with that. And so I just want to leave it there. Now, Zelda.
All right. So let's hop into Zelda. We got 2 reveals. We got a new Game & Watch. I really like the Game & Watch. And I like the fact that they threw Link's Awakening in there. They're just like, yeah, we know we just gave you this experience not too long ago, but here's the classic version of it. And it's actually the original Game Boy version, not the DX remake. Yeah, I was like, wow, they went all in because they probably could have got the DX version to work on this. As you can see, this one's dead. Yeah, because this does support the new Game & Watch supports full color. They probably could have got away with the DX and we could have had the color gender back, but it's kind of neat to have the actual OG one. It's more in line with what we'll actually see from the other 2 games that they've had. Although I'm not so sure that Legend of Zelda 2 was a good choice.
I mean, it has its fans. It's unique in the series, but I don't think it's definitely not the best game.
Miyamoto himself has called that game a mistake. like the guy who made it called it a mistake. I don't necessarily know if we really need to go back to that. And the Legend of Zelda Classic is just a very hard game, especially in a form factor like this and on such a small screen. That game is gonna fuck you up in this form factor. But I really like the colors and I really like the packaging. I might be all in on that.
I think it's worth more, like for me, than the Mario one was. If I had a choice between, you can either get the Zelda one or the Mario one, I'd probably pick the Zelda one.
Yeah, if I had known they were going to do a Zelda one, I probably would have sat tight. But they made it feel like the urgency that Nintendo put on us to get this version really instilled a great dread in me, and I feared scalpers.
And you can get them fairly easily.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they actually were like Nintendo decided to. The best way to beat scalpers is to make a shit ton of something, instead of let's not make enough of them for people to buy. Looks like Nintendo may have figured out what Sony and Microsoft just. Anyhow, and then
shortages.
True. But yeah, Breath of the Wild 2 looked absolutely beautiful, right? It was everything that we expected it to be, right? I love some of the new abilities Link will have. I like the Skyward Sword elements that they were willing to throw in to the game, especially with Skyward Sword's re-release right around the corner, to see Link dropping out of the sky in a very similar way to the way he would fall as he was going to jump on a loft wing really gave me the feels. And I really like that ability where like he stops the ball, pulls it back, and you see the trajectory of the ball and then just wails on people. So it looks like some of the physics are back in a big way this time. So I'm excited about all of that. Visually, it doesn't look much more impressive than the original Breath of the Wild. We still don't know much about the story, but we did get a release window.
We got a release year. I feel like window is still a bit vague, but release year, yeah.
Yeah, so 2022, that was super disappointing, actually.
I mean, considering how much we'd already seen previously, I don't think it was coming 2021 ever. Like, they don't, they would have hyped it up a bit more before now and shown at least a bit more before they just drop it this year. Since we're halfway through the year, they would have given us something in February, right? I think 2022 makes sense. I think they're probably going to drop at 2022 holiday just because it seems like a big holiday title. But it would probably be finished around March, I want to say.
It'd be nice if they were able to capitalize on the 5th year anniversary of Breath of the Wild. Just drop it as close to the original release date as possible. That would be best case scenario. But at this time, I'm thinking it's more of a summer game for next year.
I mean, I feel like it definitely isn't spring because you're competing with Pokemon Legends Arceus if you're anytime in spring, probably, right? So,
yeah, which a very similar visual art style. We don't obviously we don't know much about Arceus. Still excited about that game. That actually will bring us. That's actually a pretty good tie into our next topic.
I just points about Breath of the Wild actually. So I think that the Sky Islands thing is genius. So one, not only is it just visually really, really pretty to see Sky Islands everywhere, it's a good motif. It's a really, really great way to expand on the verticality that Breath of the Wild brought to the table. This was, an open world game that really explored verticality more than any other previously, I want to say.
Well, you could climb virtually anything unless it was raining.
Yeah. And just having floating islands is the next level. I think that's just such a unique next step. But it's also a beautiful creative solution to the fact that we've already been to Breath of the Wild Hyrule. It's boring at this point. As great as the game is, and it's fun to still dick around in it, I've seen all there is to see. And I wouldn't want to tread around there a second time knowing everything I know. Most of the fun of that game was just discovering cool landmarks and cool areas. You were driven by discovery, and this is a great way to shake up the environment without having you leave Hyrule for story reasons. So that's really cool, really cool.
My thing with Breath of the Wild 2 is we still haven't seen dungeons. We haven't seen any type of dungeons. Like everything they've shown has been, on the traditional Hyrule land or in the sky, and we still haven't gotten a sense of what the dungeons are going to feel like. And as much as I did enjoy shrines and I thought they were a nice reprieve from the classic style Zelda dungeons, I do think I am craving that from a Zelda game again. I think I need that.
I crave dungeons so bad. Yeah. And that's a shame because I think they are bringing back shrines and that they probably might expand them a bit or they might actually bring back proper dungeons. And that would be awesome.
I'm hoping
but I
that
think shrines are here to stay.
I'm hoping that the shrine, like the sky portions, are larger dungeon-based areas.
That would be really cool.
But I really don't want to see Divine Beast come back.
I think Divine Beasts have already played their part. We should be done with those. I don't want to see a Divine Beast ever again, honestly. Like, they should be done. Like, they are no longer relevant to the story. We did that already. Move on. Give us something new.
Are they, though? Because the game ends in a way where, didn't they say Varuta isn't functioning anymore at the end of that game if you get the secret ending?
Yes, but I'm done with them. I don't want to see them again. We've done them. Let's move on. Like, they weren't, like, they were a cool motif when you played it the first time. I don't know. They just don't have the same staying power. They don't seem to fit my ideal of the world, I guess. I don't know. I would like to see them move on from that motif.
Yeah, and plus, if you want to bring them back in any capacity, they have to have elements that are more unique. Each one of them felt, as much as I did enjoy the Divine Beast as I was playing the game, variety is not something that they have.
No.
It is one of the more general flaws of the game that I see more now as I've had time away from the game. But while I was playing it, thoroughly enjoyed the experience. It is still one of the best Switch experiences out there. 2 looks like it's going to expand on that a lot, actually.
2 things I'm seeing sort of red flags immediately, just for me personally, are I think it's going to be fucking hell to traverse this world if they don't give you a lot of stamina, because they're going to keep the stamina bar, and you can't fucking glide to the Skyland without fucking stamina. That's going to suck. And 2, hopefully it's going to be
safe. I hope they do the whole, like, if you have Breath of the Wild save data,
you can keep your hearts and stamina.
Exactly.
But then it sort of begs the question, well, for progression later, how much stamina are you going to have? How many hearts are you going to be allowed to have? Can Link really have 100 plus hearts and 6 full bars of stamina?
Shit, if you were playing that DLC and you get to that final boss, you freaking need it.
But, that already. But then you factor in rain. That's going to be a fucking bitch to climb all those fucking Skylands in the fucking rain.
I'm hoping that there is a sky traversal element that they have yet to show us. Bring back Loftwings.
Loftwings.
Yeah, bring back Loftwings because
they show you progressing with the glider. I'm like, that looks really cool. But I'm worried about that fucking stamina bar, dude. So, my concern... And one thing I'm just really, really fucking upset about that they didn't do is I didn't see a fucking hook shot anywhere. It was absent in 1, and I get that. But this is the fucking game to have a hook shot, right? And I think it might have been a little too late by the time Monster Hunter Rise showed anything for this, but the fucking wire bugs in that are so beautiful. I love wire bugging. I every time I play like any other game now, I immediately just try and fucking wire bug places. It's ruined me. I can't play a game without trying to wire bug. I play Genshin Impact, and every time I boot down the first time, I try and wire bug. I'm cursed. But wire bugging is the best fucking grappling hook system I've ever seen. It's so good. Its traversal is great, and the best part about it is that it doesn't actually require real physics. They just invented their own physics, because normally when you have a grappling hook of some sort, you have to find something to latch onto, you have to aim to it, and then you have to, it's sort of a clunky experience. You just can go anywhere. And I think this would fit really, really well with Zelda, especially with the Sheikah Slate. It's just the Sheikah Slate power, and you can just grapple midair, and that just works.
That actually reminds, like, obviously we've seen Link use Sheikah Slate abilities, but, like, that begs the question is how does he regain control of the Sheikah Slate? Because we've firmly seen it in the grasp of Zelda pretty much since the end of that game. And in the trailer and at the end of the original game, like, it's something that he seemed to have just passed on to Zelda because
Mhm.
his primary use of it has left. So I expect the story to be a little bit more involved in this game, just to get us to the point A to point B. And I really hope, as much as I do enjoy the memory system of Breath of the Wild, it's
a bit too
have to
easy
do it. Yeah, I would like to see them structure the story in such a way that there is a progression of events that happens, whereas hey, figure it out. Because I one of the first supposedly easiest memories to find in the original Breath of the Wild, I didn't find until the end of the game when I absolutely needed it to make sure that I had all the memories unlocked. Because I wanted the secret ending. So I had to go back and look for it. And when I was like, I've been missing it this whole time, it's at one of the first places that you have access to. How did I get to a point where I just walked past it? Because they were too vague, ambiguous. I'm hoping that just more of a traditional story structure, it would really lend itself to the game, I think, this time around.
And I think there are a couple different ways to do it. So in Breath of the Wild 1, you sort of would just stumble across story. And that's just how it progressed. I think it might be interesting to see sort of world events take place. So, when you clear the Divine Beast, it stops everything you're doing for a cutscene, right? I think just go about the world as you normally would, and when you clear an objective, whether you knew it was an objective or not, the story progresses on sort of a global scale, and you see it. So it just stops the game, and it shows you what changed in the world, and that's sort of the progression. But based on what we've seen story-wise too, it does seem like there is a lot more cutscenes, and I'm hoping that they are a bit more linear too, because they don't. I understand why they wanted to sort of let you discover it on your own, but I think they went about the progression of it wrong, and they walk a fine line trying to find that creative solution. And I think it worked, but it wasn't for me. And just going back to a Wirebug with the Sky Islands and Wirebugs are fucking great.
Yeah, but
Rise is a vertical monster hunter. It just makes so much sense. And it ticks me off because Hookshot is like a key ability in Zelda, and it's just not fucking present, at least so far. And this should be so fucking good. And I'm really salty it wasn't shown.
Hopefully the build-up to this game is a little bit more involved than the build-up to the first game. What amped up the first game was the fact that we had seen elements of the development cycle for like 6 years before it was unveiled. This time out, because they didn't have to do so much as far as building the game, right? Because this is the same engine as Breath of the Wild. They might have toyed with it a bit to make it fit, what they're going for in this version of Breath of the Wild. But yeah, seeing every step of development that we did along the way, because they kept revealing it over and over. Here's a trailer, here's a trailer, here's a trailer. And then finally we get to the game. This time, because the market, obviously they'll be able to actually deliver the game because there's not going to be just so much core building and it's not transitioning from one system to the other. They're going to need a much more involved marketing strategy, and I hope that the lead up to it is very full and gets us pretty amped for this game, make us want the experience again, even though we already do.
And I almost sort of wonder if they can accomplish that, because there was an interview, I think it was Aonuma, and he said that we didn't give the subtitle for the game, which I was fully expecting a subtitle and logo. But they didn't announce that because it would be a spoiler. It would give away too much. And I'm like, how do you have a successful marketing campaign for this game without revealing even the subtitle for it? Apparently it's how do you show off the game to people who might buy it without
You're gonna just call it Breath of the Wild 2. That's gonna be hilarious.
But,
oh man, this is gonna be wild.
Some magic with marketing, yeah.
But yeah, hella excited. I do want to wrap up this show by talking about things that just weren't at E3. Because I do think it's pretty relevant to how I felt about E3 as a whole.
Yeah.
Starting with titles that I thought were a shoo-in for some kind of reveal. Metroid Prime 4. Now, we've touched on Metroid a bit, but we know Metroid Prime 4 has had a haphazard development cycle, to say the least, right?
It's been rocky.
Basically, just restarting the game, and I applauded Nintendo's transparency in the fact that they were willing to not only scrap a game outright, but then make us aware that they're like, hey, this wasn't going to work for the franchise. So
And
we're starting over.
Fairly transparent. They're just saying like, yeah, we just don't have anything to show, which isn't great. But
True,
they're at
but
least
yeah, but this
recognizing it.
this is the backfire of what happens when you're a little too transparent, right? Because now we're seeing that now that we're 3 years from the time frame that they've initially told us that they're scrapping the game. Now it just feels like nothing's progressing. And there was recently a job listing by Retro Studios for a graphics designer for this game. That puts fear in my soul. The fact that they're still hiring designers for this game doesn't make me it doesn't instill me with confidence that the development cycle has gotten any better for this game. I feel like the team should be fairly established at this point. We should be progressing along. Look, we don't have to be near completion, but we should have enough
to show something.
Exactly. We should have enough work.
They had enough to show the number 4. I want to see the number 4 again. You know,
or just show me show me your most updated character model for Samus. That's it. That's all I need. Just to instill me with a bit of confidence. The fact that they haven't even done that yet sends chills down my spine. In the sense that I don't know if I should be excited anymore about Metroid Prime 4. That's a scary thought. That is a scary thought. As a fan of the Metroid franchise, I don't think we're in a better situation. That's how I feel right now because we've gotten so little information, and the information that we do get is that development is progressing. That doesn't instill me with any type of confidence. We also didn't see Splatoon 3. We know it's coming. We've had a trailer for it, and typically the build up to Splatoon games is the way they hype those games. They do it. That's probably the franchise that has the best marketing campaign for Nintendo. They really do go above and beyond when it comes to giving us a lead-in. And E3 has traditionally been a place where they've led us into the to the Splatoon franchise a great deal. Now, I'm not saying that I'm dissatisfied with the trailer that we saw because I'm still really amped up to have a little buddy. It just felt weird that we didn't get any new update for the game. Even just confirming some returning game modes would have been okay for me.
Like they could have given us just nothing for the trailer, but I fully expected a Treehouse Live demo. Because I mean, obviously they just announced the game, but they definitely have enough to have made a playable stage and 4 playable weapons. I feel like that.
Well, considering that we know they're probably not building a new engine for it, it's probably going to run on the same engine as Splatoon 2.
It's the same engine. They're not reinventing the wheel. They don't have. They have all the assets from the first 2 games, and we've seen in that first trailer we saw essentially a match being played, and so for the trailer purposes they can at least do that. And we know that the very very first E3 demo they put together for Splatoon 1 was built in a month. So we've seen them do it before.
Yep.
And they can crank these games out because they're all based on the first game still. And so I expected Treehouse Live to play a match or 2. I was expecting that. And it just wasn't present.
Wholeheartedly agree with you. Yeah, we've seen the development team
or
do amazing things with the franchise. I know that the core guy behind Splatoon has a lot of his hands in Animal Party still, or Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing.
I said Animal Party. Jesus, that's how little I care about that game.
I mean, it's technically a festival about amiibos. It's called Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival.
So we know that he still works. He's pretty still key to the development team during Animal Crossing. That game is still getting support. So it makes me wonder who may actually be directing the game this time out, if it's still him. And it bothers me that I can't think of his name off the top of my head, because I do pretty much have it committed to memory somewhere. It's locked in the recesses of my mind somewhere. But yeah, I'm just mind boggled that we just got nothing from Splatoon 3. It just felt like the timing would have been perfect. We know it's coming. There is anticipation behind the game. I expected that. I expected its presence to be there, and that's all that I can see, is that it wasn't there. Bayonetta 3, another 3 game, not shown, and Kamiya is starting to get like super pissed because people keep asking about it. But at the same time, why the fuck shouldn't we? It's been 3 years. It's been 3 years. You have to tell us something. There are a lot of Bayonetta fans, right? Like it is our version of Devil May Cry. It is the Nintendo fans' version of Devil May Cry. We've been waiting a long time. The time frame between 2 and 3 is significantly longer than the time frame between 1 and 2 at this point. And just the game is developing nicely. Doesn't cut it for me either. It's actually really, really annoying to hear the same statement over and over. What else did not get announced? Mario Kart 9.
I mean, I feel like that's valid. I know it's been a while since 8 Deluxe, but you also have to think about, we got Mario Kart Tour and we just got Mario Kart Live Home Circuit, right? And as much as those aren't real Mario Kart games, I feel like to Nintendo they are real Mario Kart games. And a couple years from now, after Mario Kart Live, we'll see the next Mario Kart, which a little too late, I feel, but it makes sense.
Yeah, it feels like this is the longest we've had a console without a core Mario Kart game, like a new Mario Kart game. 8 Deluxe is a fantastic game, though. I love 8 Deluxe. It fixed all the problems that 8 has and brought to the that, especially the battle mode, but it should have been there. Like I fully expected at least a reveal trailer for this. I'm actually surprised that Nintendo is just resting on its laurels with 8 and Home Circuit. And look, I still haven't bought the bullet on Home Circuit. I think it's too expensive for what it actually is.
Yeah.
I
mean, they could have just thrown the logo 9. Like game companies do.
Just do it. Just do the drive. Like have like Mario drive his car in the shape of a 9, and that might have been enough. But I think the biggest and most glaring snub was the Pokemon Company not showcasing anything.
They showed Unite a couple days later.
Yes, again, but outside the
I know Pokemon didn't show anything that should have mattered.
I know Pokemon Company does its own thing almost all the time, but they've traditionally had a presence at E3, and we know there are games. There are 3 games in the pipeline that we know about. We had Unite, we had Arceus, and we had Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. The fact that these games had no presence, might be the ultimate slap in the face. It just shows that the Pokemon Company has too much power in its control of the franchise. The fact that they can just outright ignore E3. I've said it for years. Nintendo's biggest mistake was not taking full ownership of the Pokemon franchise when it was still small. I get it. It didn't make a lot of sense, but having the slice of the pie divvied up 3 ways now is becoming something of a hindrance in their ability to market these games the way that they should be marketed, and it's really just not allowing fans like the moments that I think we deserve at places like E3, or events like E3. But yeah, I thought we'd see not really an Arceus trailer, but I definitely thought they'd give us more information about Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, specifically since they haven't talked about it since February.
I mean, and I feel like
the expectation I'm getting by not seeing anything is simply that there isn't anything new. with these games. The more they don't show anything, the more I'm sort of told the message that this is just vanilla Diamond and Pearl with literally nothing new. It's those exact games, what they are, 3D now. And that's sort of the messages I'm seeing, like, because there's nothing new to show. And so if that is the case, then I understand why they wouldn't tell us literally anything or show us literally anything, because there's nothing new to show. And so that way, I get it. And I wasn't expecting Arceus. So it's just weird, though. Like, they should have had something shown. I don't know. And
I agree. I agree. I think that the Pokemon Company just has its own thing that they want to do now, and unfortunately, to me it appears like it's gearing itself more and more towards mobile every year. Every year we get a new core mobile title for, well, they're calling them core experiences, but to me, Unite is not a core experience. Like, I have no real desire to play Pokemon League of Legends.
I do think it could make for a cool anime spinoff, though.
Yeah, but you know what's going to happen is that, like, instead of focusing, I love Pokemon spinoff games. I have always loved Pokemon Snap, Pokemon New Snap, Pokemon Tournament. I've always been a huge fan of this, but I don't think that Pokemon I don't think it has to touch every style of video game.
No.
And Unite is like a push into that direction, and this is not one that I want. Hey, I even love Detective Pikachu, which is just a point and click.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that they should experiment in different styles of games. But the League of Legends gameplay,
And
like
Pikachu wasn't shown either, actually.
yeah,
That's not a game that's supposedly coming.
yeah,
More
just
Pokemon
the lack of any Pokemon anything at E3 is just disheartening as a fan. So yeah, all the things we said here, I felt they should have had a presence in some capacity. I don't need big things. I don't need big reveals. Sometimes it's the little reveals that get you more hyped than the big ones. When they showed off that 4, exactly. But when they showed off the 4 for Metroid Prime 4, like, you had people bouncing off the walls just because it meant that you were doing something, right? And that's all we need to know.
Sorry to keep you waiting. I lost my fucking mind. That's still my best E3, honestly, when Pit came out. Sorry to keep you waiting.
Exactly, like, just showing us little things can sometimes do more for us than the biggest reveal that you physically could do. It'd be great to have, like, massive gameplay trailers, or like, oh, here's a trailer that's just focusing on the story stuff. Like, all those things are great when they do come, but E3 the E3 moments that always shine for me are like, it's coming moments, right? Just letting you know that development is actively in progress. And I think that's what E3 should be. And I think that's what was lacking from not just Nintendo's presentation, but E3 as a whole, right? Like, it just didn't feel like I had anything to be amped up about. I was more excited about the Oculus the Upload VR presentation that revealed a bunch of Oculus games than almost any other presentation about E3. And we are going to touch on E3 as a whole in our next episode. We were going to do it today, but we've gotten a little long in the tooth for this episode. But that's what we do here. Time frames and time management skills mean nothing to us.
Bedtime. I'm an adult now.
Exactly. Well, I have an appointment that I got to get to in the morning. But still,
sorry.
No, medical. But no, it's not big deal. I'll be gone. It's actually one of the more later ones I have scheduled. But anyway, no, I wanted more out of this direct. I'm not saying I'm completely, like, disenfranchised with the way the direct went, because there are some great reveals here. I just ultimately I expected my expectations were not tempered properly for the Nintendo Direct as they should have been, despite the fact that E3 as a whole this year should have given me a template of what I should have expected. But it is what it is on that, I guess. I really don't have anything else to say on any of our titles, so I think this is a good wrap up point, man.
Yeah.
So
Kazuya's coming to Smash from Tekken. That was cool, I guess, too.
And I think that's all
that was a cool reveal. That was a cool. I love the fact that he just kept dropping people off the cliff,
Mhm.
and then by the time he gets to Min Min, her arm won't drop all the way, so he's just like, just kicks it over.
I mean, the attention to detail they had with like Ganon's limp body, that was a fucking corpse for Ganon. He fucking murdered Ganon. And I'm like, they just animated a whole corpse. Like, it's one thing to like have them unconscious, but that was a fucking corpse for Ganon.
I mean, Ridley did kill Mario in that reveal trailer, but yeah, she's just carrying the dead bodies, just like, I was like, oh my god. But I thought the trailer was actually hilarious in all the right ways.
It was a good play.
But yeah, that should be our wrap up point on dead Smash characters.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, as always, you can hit me up on Twitter at nice1983. You can hit me up on Gmail, nice1983@gmail.com. Hit me up on Facebook, facebook.com/Nintendo Power Zone. If you're a fan of the Nintendo Power Zone podcast, we're always here on YouTube, youtube.com/Nintendo Power Zone, and wherever you download your podcast, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher Radio, iTunes, we're there, or Apple Music, whatever they're calling it now. We are everywhere that you can download podcasts. So please listen to us. Hope you enjoy the content that we're delivering on a semi-regular, not so regular schedule. We're working on that. We're going to have a much more full schedule for 2021 and beyond. But yeah, Blues, hit them up.
Yeah, as always, you can follow me on Twitter at VKingBlues. Blues is always spelled BLOOZ. You can follow me on Twitch at VKingBlues as well, and you can match me on Tinder.
Don't forget to match the most important one. Match me on Tinder, dude.
Yeah, you won't catch me on Tinder. Sorry, ladies. I'm off the market. I don't know. I'm such a sexy thing too, right? Anyway, guys, thank you so much. Oh, one more thing. If you like the music you're hearing, which you're not hearing if you're watching it live, but it will be in the finalized version. That is our theme song, The Power Zone by Mario After Party, former co-host of the show, aka Chris Shaver. And you can download his music on iTunes, Spotify, Stitch, Audible. No, not Audible. Wherever you download music, you'll be able to find it. I'm sorry at Mario After Party. I just cannot remember all the music streaming platforms at this time, but he does exist. Look him up, Chris Shaver. You'll be able to download his music, and I hope you enjoyed the show. We're happy to be back. Happy that E3 is back in some capacity. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Remember to stay fresh. Deuces.